Hello from a different location. It is 10:41. Ironically, I could have got here much earlier, but I actually had some stuff I had to do before I could actually commit myself to my desk. So I would take it as a win. I don't think I am backsliding again like I did last week. So a win from me in terms of the time that I got here. Today, I want to talk about the Olympics. In particular, I want to talk about Alysa Liu because there's a few things that I think are now in the discourse that I've been saying for a while now. One of my earliest videos is when I talked about this idea, which is that you can't outcompete someone having fun. And Alysa Liu is obviously a incredible example of this. And I just wanted to do some sort of like lessons from the Olympics, but more particularly just lessons from Alysa Liu. I hope that's how you say her name. One is this thing that I already believe, but I am gratified to have reinforced by this very public example of someone quitting the sport because they didn't have fun and then coming back even stronger. Obviously, they were younger, and so now they have just the physical ability to be better. But I do think that there is something really important in having fun and actually finding some sort of enjoyment out of the thing that you are dedicating your life to. And that can be type 2 fun, if you don't know what type 2 fun is. Type 1 fun is it's fun in the moment, and then type 2 fun is it's fun in retrospect, but maybe the actual process of doing it is not that fun. So some people would say this would be hiking or camping or doing some extreme event. I personally enjoy camping and hiking in the moment as well, but to each their own. So that's the first piece. I think that there is a you can't outcompete someone having fun narrative that comes out of the Alysa Liu win at the Olympics. But I think there is also another piece that I think is super interesting, and that piece is that dedication to a craft really this idea that basically you can basically have fun at anything if you commit yourself fully to it. And I kind of believe this because when I have to do a menial task, something that just feels administrative or boring, one way that I can really activate my motivation is just by really deciding to do the best job ever at that thing, whether that's washing up dishes or tidying up or vacuuming or replying to emails. And I can define best job ever in whichever way I want. So you can define that as a specific outcome. Highly recommend that you don't do that. And we can talk about that as the third lesson from Alysa Liu. But you can define it in 1,000 different ways. But once you have conceived of a metric that you could consider to be the best job ever, you then have something to strive towards. And I think that striving towards something is inherently gratifying. So for me, sometimes that's just speed. Like, can I do this as fast as possible? And then sometimes it's sort of doing the job the best that I can. So that's the second lesson that I think I have been observing from Alysa Liu's win. And the third one is this detachment from the outcome. And I think this is pretty well established in the psychology of motivation literature, which is that the most resilient and inherent type of motivation is the one which is completely intrinsic. So extrinsic motivation is sort of like a carrot and the stick kind of situation where I want to do this thing and want to get this outcome. And those are extremely fragile and generally not great, because once the carrot and the stick is removed, you kind of fall into a sense of purposelessness. And you kind of see this in, and I don't want to claim to know what Michael Phelps is going through because I don't know him, and I haven't never spoken to him. I hope that's obvious. But all of that to say, Michael Phelps, after becoming the most decorated Olympian in history, because he does swimming, and swimming is kind of, anyway, you can get loads of medals in swimming, but after becoming the most decorated Olympian in history, he falls into this deep depression. And this is something that actually a lot of athletes seem to fall into in terms of feeling a sense of purposelessness and trying to find meaning in their life post their athletic careers. Part of that, I think, is because a lot of their motivation is around performance, is around outcome. And now Alyssa Liu is still very young and still in her career, so we can't really make any conclusions. But I do think that because she has an extremely process-oriented mindset towards her craft, her sport, she seems to be way less crushed and way less excited by the idea of failing at a performance or succeeding at a performance. And I think the reason is that there is an intrinsic motivation that is driving this, which is I would like to have fun, everything is a win, and the process itself is something that is gratifying to her. And so that intrinsic motivation is the other piece that I think is really interesting to think about. And there's a fourth thing that I think is sort of connected to all of this, which is that it's not the case that Alicia Liu is averse to negative emotions. Negative emotions is something that she's talked about before. She said, like, so, she kind of likes suffering, is kind of like the thing that I've been seeing on Twitter. And I actually never watched the 60 Minutes interview that is from, but the point is there is a like the not suffering, sorry, struggling. So there is a gratifying feeling to overcoming struggle. There is a friction that pushing against is inherently a intrinsically motivating feeling, and you don't have to push against friction in order to get an outcome and then have the outcome be the thing that gratifies you. And that I think is a incredibly powerful lesson, especially for someone who is 20 to learn. And yeah, just shout out to Alyssa Liu.